depressed here if we started to talk about the amount of land that we had 50 and 70 years ago, and how that land is gone now. That's a huge gap of us of our land base having diminished dramatically.
Yeah, we what it is that in our culture, our economic culture, which we're still working to shape that, right? It's because some of it's still slave culture, or there's other, I don't know exactly what to call it, but there's very little conversation that we have with children coming up about the importance of ownership.
Yeah.
Ownership.
Yeah.
So in the Black Business School, we teach children. We tell, that's the first people we want to teach. We have a business.
And when
school.
you say in the Black Business School, you're talking about this is your baby.
Yeah. The Black Business School, it's online, and we have 68,000 students.
Yeah.
And one of the things we did was we created a business school for children.
Yeah.
And what we tell the kids is we give them an acronym. We tell them to keep their poise. P-O-I-S-E. Poise stands for producer, owner, investor, saver, entrepreneur. And we tell them this is what you want to be, because the economic system can be compared to a horse and jockey scenario.
Yeah.
You think about a horse race, a horse does all the work, the jockey gets all the credit, right? The horse does all the running, the jockey gets all the money.
Yeah.
And in capitalism, unfortunately, in America, it's a horse and jockey. You think about if someone goes to rent an apartment, the renter is paying the mortgage for the landlord. So the landlord gets wealth, the renter just gets run down, right? You think about an employer-employee scenario, the employee is putting in the labor and getting some compensation that they use to maybe go pay rent, right? And the employer is the one who owns the business, builds the wealth, leaves something for their children, right? And the list goes kind of on and on and on when you talk about the investor versus the borrower.
Makes me think of a documentary, not so articulately named, but maybe appropriately named, the Pimp and Ho mentality.
Yeah, it's a Pimp and Ho system, absolutely, absolutely. And the hoes usually don't have much negotiating power, and I think that I think it's appropriate. I think Pimp and Ho is really good to describe the NCAA. Literally every single tactic a pimp uses to control a prostitute.
Yes.
That's exactly what the NCAA. I mean, I'm talking about the threats of severe punishment for deviation, for all these things. So I think by just being aware of all of this and how all this works is a great first step. But
and let me stay with that for a second, because the school, whoever it might be, Arizona State, receives from its apparel company millions and millions and millions of dollars. And it says to the student, athlete, you got to wear, so therefore you have to wear X brand. And if you don't wear X brand, there is punishment. So the student athlete feels as if I have no choice, except proportionately the student athlete is getting a minuscule value. They say he's getting an education, most of them don't. Most of them don't graduate. So many don't graduate. So at the end of the day, there's very little that the student athlete is getting of the millions of dollars that the pimp is receiving.
Absolutely. I'm gonna tell you, I give a lot of credit to LeBron James, because I think he's doing a documentary on HBO about that kind of thing. And I think that's a reflection of the fact that he skipped that whole system because of that. If you recall, when LeBron was in high school, he got a lot of grief because I think he was driving a new car, or his mama got a gift or something, and they were making millions of dollars off of him in high school. And so what people have to understand, what black people have to understand, is the NCAA, that is a racial issue. It is a racial issue because the NCAA extracts about at least $1 billion a year out of the black community. Because remember, we are not people without assets. We have the best athletes in the world. We started and created hip hop, but everybody's making money off of it, but us. The list goes on and on. And with the NCAA, what you're really seeing is this mass wealth extraction that is where the accomplice is the federal government that sort of overlooks the extreme violation of labor rights of these athletes. And the reason they overlook it is because in their mind they're thinking, well, this Negro should be happy with what he's getting. Without us, he would still be in the hood. And we know that the scholarship obviously doesn't give the equivalent value to what they're giving the university, because if it did, then you would just pay the athletes what they're worth and then let them pay their own tuition, right? It doesn't cost much to bring one more student in a class. If I'm already teaching 30 people, who cares if I'm teaching 33, right? And so that whole idea that they're getting, that this is even a remotely fair trade is kind of ridiculous. And what has to happen is, I believe these older athletes, you know, the people that got a little bit of money, they need to get behind some good lawyers that can file some really good antitrust lawsuits and fight for those labor rights.
You know, having this conversation with you, you know, I want to get your answers, but man, I'll take the liberty here to say to any parent of a premier athlete that is out there, that is what the black community could do, the impact that it could have across this land, if there was a cohesiveness of thought that said, until so many things get better, pick your choice of what you want to get better, but we're not sending our black athletes to these predominantly white schools, we're sending them to black schools. How much that could change this society, I don't think we can measure.
Well, you know, I agree with you. I agree 100%. I mean, the University of Missouri, I think the football players did a protest there over a race issue, and they got the president fired in about 2 or 3 days.
That's right.
You know, and
that's the power. That's the power that we just won't seize and use it.
And people don't want us to know our power. You know, that's why their greatest asset is an uneducated black man. You know, they love when we are more focused on the booty, the bling, and whatever it is, than we are on actual power structures and how this works. So that's why, you know, a lot of my students and stuff like that follow me online and everything, I tell them, when your kids grow up, have them read books like Powernomics first. Have them read, you know, Claude Anderson. Who
sat in that seat a time or two.
I mean, Dr. Claude Anderson is one of the greatest human beings to ever walk the face of this planet. One of the greatest gifts from God that we will ever receive. And along with yourself, Louis Farrakhan, and a few others that just really kind of understand this game and how it's played. And what I want people to do is hold out hope and understand that it takes time. You know, just because you don't see the change you're looking for in this lifetime, you plant those seeds. It's again, it's a 100, 200 year game we're playing, not something.